Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. I have a very special guest with me today. She is a nail champion, celebrity nail artist, and also a businesswoman. Please welcome Miss Mimi D. Hello, Mimi. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So I wanted to go ahead and kickstart with this show and ask about how you first got started into the nail industry, and also what was your upbringing like? How did you grow up?
Well, I grew up kind of in, I guess you could say like country. In the very beginning, grew up in the country, and then I moved to the
Mm-hmm.
city-ish, I'll say. I grew up in Virginia, and then in 2010, I moved to New York,
Mm-hmm.
where I was basically just kind of doing odd jobs and working in restaurants and doing all that kind of thing. And the restaurant that I worked at, the money was really good that I made, but it stressed me out.
Mm-hmm.
And as a way for me to get back my zen, relax, calm down, I would paint my nails.
Right.
And from there, I started looking on Tumblr. I don't know if a lot of people still even know about Tumblr, but Tumblr was like a blog website where people would go and post their
Mm-hmm.
pictures and their work way before Instagram. And so I would go up there and I would see that some of these nail artists were posting their work on Tumblr. They were posting like, crazy artwork on their nails, and I got inspired by that. And so I started to paint, try to imitate what they were doing on
Right.
my own nails. And from there, I got pretty good at it. I got good enough at it. And
Mm-hmm.
I decided to put myself through nail school. And once I did that, the rest is pretty much history. I messaged a woman that I found on the internet. I just messaged her on Facebook, like, hey, I see that you're working on set. I just graduated nail school. I'm really interested in, seeing what that world is like. Is there any way that I can come and hang out pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
And God bless her. Her name is Rika. She was like, yeah, I have a job tomorrow if you want to come. And I'm like, tomorrow? Okay. So
Wow.
she introduced me to the on-set world. And from there, I assisted her. I assisted Lisa Logan. I assisted Michelle Saunders. I assisted so many of the industry's leading manicurists. And from there, they referred me for jobs. And that's really how I got my foot in the door with working on set and being an editorial manicurist.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. So you're from Virginia?
Yes.
Oh, I'm from the DC area. I'm from Maryland. So
Ah,
yeah.
okay. East Coast.
Same East Coast. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, that's a really cool story. I got into like nail art kind of like the same way, like looking
Okay.
at different nail artists and, just looking at their work and try to emulate it to a degree, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually I developed my own style of nail art. So yeah, it's really cool to look around on the internet and, see different people with these different styles of nail art. It's
Crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So who are like your favorite nail artists?
I would say my favorite nail artists are my friends. They are they are the women that I, first met when I started doing events. Obviously this was pre-COVID, but they were doing these big, huge nail events. The first big one that I did was when Tiana Taylor first released a shoe with Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in maybe 2011, 2012, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I met Ami V, I met Jess Tong, I met Rhea, I met Kelly, I met another Mimi. I met
Mm-hmm.
so many women that I still talk to this day. And those are my favorite artists because we all get to see how much we've grown
Mm-hmm.
for basically almost pretty much a decade now. And so my friends are definitely my favorite artists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the same. Some of the people that I follow are my favorite artists. Tamara DeLulo,
Mm-hmm.
Spiffster, you
Of
know,
course.
so many people, I look at,
Yeah, there's
I
almost too
follow.
many to name.
Yeah, their work is incredible. Gracie J from the Editorial Nail, like her work is
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes.
It's absolutely great. Now, what has been your experience, working or owning a salon, or were you always like an independent nail artist?
I did work in two salons. I worked in one fresh out of nail school. That was an interesting experience. And back then, for what I was doing with my nail art, I wasn't paid anything extra for that. And of course, I would never go for that now. But
Mm-hmm.
you live and you learn. And when you're fresh out of school, you just kind of take whatever job is available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I left that salon, I went to another salon
Mm-hmm.
where kind of the same thing happened. They wanted to kind of charge extra for my work, but they weren't really paying me for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I kind of realized like, I don't want to keep basically giving away my services and giving away my artistry for free. And so I kind of took a step back from salon life, and I actually have never gone back since. So, my next step would be to have my own salon space, just for me, not with, anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be my next step. But in my experience, salons were not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not my thing.
So in terms of, I know how you mentioned about pricing. So how important is pricing your artwork and charging for what you're worth?
Super important, because you don't want to essentially give away,
Mm-hmm.
your skills for free. For me, I have worked a really long time, and looking at a photo of where I started and looking at where I am now, I'm like, woo, thank God for deliverance and practice and, quality products and all of those kinds of things. So, and all of those things go into pricing. If you're using high quality products that aren't cheap, if you're using Japanese gels, if you're using, brushes that cost anywhere between $15 to $20, if you're using gels that cost anywhere between $15 to $20, you don't want to price your art cheaply. You don't want to say, oh, well, this will be like $2 a nail, or, something like that, something that you can get at an around the corner salon or in and out salon. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to price your skills, or you don't want to price your art how they price their art, because their goal is to get you in and to get you out. And when you
Mm-hmm.
come to like a true nail artist, it really is an experience. You're sitting down with someone for hours sometimes. Whereas in an out salon, you can get everything done in, 45 minutes to an hour. Where if you go to a nail artist, you're sitting there from an hour and a half to 3 hours to sometimes 4 hours. So
Right.
you want to make sure that you're pricing your art to, number one, where you're making a profit, and
Mm-hmm.
number two, to where um, you're not wasting your time. I
Mm-hmm.
get questions about, well, how do I know how to price myself? How do I know like how much money I need to make or whatever? And you basically write down all of your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're spending, anywhere from $50 to $100 in, basic stuff like files, buffers, whatever,
Oh, you're freezing a little bit.
how much does it cost to actually run your business? How much does it cost you to turn on the lights in your building? You
Mm-hmm.
want to factor that into it as well. So there are a lot of factors that go into how to price yourself, and you just want to make sure that you're at least making 2 to 3 times the amount of how much it costs for you to run your business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely agree, because it costs money to get materials and things like that to create
Right.
a work of art. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I do believe, and I definitely agree, charge what you're worth. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So that's a good tip. Now, how important is marketing? How important is marketing yourself, and getting your work out there? Like how should one start marketing themselves?
Instagram. Instagram is free. Social media is free to a certain degree. If you want to, put paid promotion behind some of your posts, you can always go that route. I always try to share with people, do as much as you can for free. And then once you kind of reach the limit of that, then you can go into, okay, well, this is how much money I need to set aside for marketing. This is how much money I need to make sure that, I'm spending to make sure that I'm getting my name out there. Hashtags, always start with hashtags. That always helps. Even something as basic as if you live in a specific city, you put city, nail artist city. You know what I'm saying? Like just something like hashtag DC nail artist, hashtag nail artist in DC. Like just think of like all the different combinations of things that people will search to try to find you and start there. Once you kind of reach that limit of, I see a slowdown in the followers that I've gained. I see a slowdown in, emails or people trying to reach out to, book an appointment. Then I would invest some money into doing like some paid promotion or something like that.
Yeah, most definitely. So how important is nail care? Like how important is taking care of one's cuticles? How important is skincare as well? Because I think it's easy to talk about like a lot of the nail artistry, which is the fun part. But I think the foundational aspect of nails is very, very important. So how important, your perspective, is nail care?
Nail care is very important. And it's like you don't want to have this really beautiful house that's on a rocky foundation, because then, the wind blows and everything will topple over. So it's kind of the same thing. You don't want to have this beautiful nail art and then underneath their nails are trash. So people, I get questions like, how can I strengthen my nails? How can I do this? How can I make my nails better? And it's like, just do the basics. Drink your water, take your vitamins, and use cuticle oil. Like people are not using cuticle oil, and I do not understand why. It's literally the easiest thing that you can do, especially now with all the extra hand washing, all the extra using of the hand sanitizer. It's drying your skin out, it's drying your cuticles out. All of that is getting dried out, and so you need to put the moisture back into your nails. And some people think that using too much cuticle oil is a bad thing, and it really isn't. It really adds to the flexibility of the nail, and it makes sure that, if I go and get my nails done, okay, this is the analogy that I always use. If you go and get your hair done, you do everything in your power to make sure that hairstyle lasts. You go home, you wrap it at night, you put oil sheen in it, you make sure, you don't get any, you brush it if you need to, like any of those things. You do everything that you need to make sure that your hairstyle lasts. You need to do the same thing with your nails. You need to make sure that you oil your cuticles 3 to 5 times a day. You need to make sure that, when you wash your hands, you make sure that you get underneath your nails too, because a lot of dirt and all that stuff. And then if you get a hangnail, go ahead and cut it if you need to, but don't like go overboard with the nippers and doing all that. So nail care is super, super, super important. And I think more people are paying attention to it now because of the pandemic and having to be at home, and some people having to do their own nails. They're like, oh, and it's like, yeah, you get it now. You get everything that we were trying to tell you, how to do all of this stuff at home, and you could have did that yourself. But I think a lot of people are starting to get it now, which is good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like nail care is so important, especially like I like how you said with cuticle oil, because I think a lot of people don't consider like how important that is to add cuticle oil or any type of like, certain oils like jojoba oil or tea tree oil that helps treat and keep the nails healthy. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you brought up those points, and also with drinking water, also with your diet, fruits, vegetables, vitamins. That's very vital, not only for your nails, but also your skin, your hair, your overall health, and I like how you broke a lot of that stuff down. And I think that's very, very important. Now, what products would you recommend in terms of like nail care? Like, what's the best products that you usually use in terms of nail care?
A basic thing is cuticle oil, and everybody's like, well, which one is the best one to use? And it's like, I can't really tell you what's the best one for you, because we are all made up of different chemicals. We're all made up of different things. And if I tell you, oh, I like this one, it may not work for you because, we're not the same. So, just like they have this long aisle of hair products, and not every single hair product will work for every single person. It's the same thing when it comes to nails. I just tell people, find the brand that you love to wear. And if they have a cuticle oil, then use that, because 9 times out of 10, their formulation is going to be the same. It's all going to be, manufactured in the same factory. So whatever brand, if you love this person's base coat and top coat, then go with that brand and use their cuticle oil. And also, trial and error. Again, just like skincare, just like hair products. You can buy all the things in the world, but sometimes some things just won't work for you. And it's a lot of trial and error. So some cuticle oils can dry down a little more dry. And then there are cuticle oils that are like kind of greasy. So I would say, like, if you're prone to being oily, maybe get one that's a little more dry, because 9 times out of 10, if your skin and your hair are oily, your nails are going to be oily as well. So you might want to get one that isn't so greasy when it dries down. That's really my basic one as far as like products, is definitely a cuticle oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I wanted to ask, and pertaining to being an independent nail artist, how important is documentation? How important is insurance? How important is ownership? Because I think this is a very important discussion, especially for us as nail artists. Like, so how important is ownership, insurance, and things of that nature?
I would say it's very important, because you want to make sure that in the event, this is what I say, you'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So, anything can happen, and you always want to make sure that you're protected. And that's really what it's about. It's about protecting yourself, because, you never want to get stuck in a situation where your client gets hurt on your property, or, your client gets, injured in any kind of way while they're at your space, because you would be responsible for that. And so you want to make sure that you have insurance. And right now, like, there are a lot of places that you can get covered for under, I think it's like under $250 for a year, which is, I mean, if you break it down in days, that's like $1 a day. So it's really not that much, to really just invest and make sure that you're protected. Because if nothing else, even if like something minor happens, that's something that you don't have to think about. Because as an independent owner, there are a lot of things. As an independent owner, everything's going to fall on you.
Right.
And you don't want to be in a situation where you have to now spend all of this money, or all of your hard-earned, saved, all of that money to remedy a situation where if you would have had insurance, you would have been covered. So I always say it's really important, super important to have insurance, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, how important is copyright? How important is, making sure you have the rights to your work, especially nail art and things of that nature? Because there's certain instances where people dealt with like people stealing their work, artwork, nail art and things of that nature. So how important is copyright?
I would say it's important, but the thing is, it's difficult to copyright something if it doesn't. Okay, let's say this. If you post something on Instagram, you can forget it. Like, technically, you don't even own it anymore. So let's say if I have my own website, which I do, if I'm going to post my work, I would post it to my website first, and then post it to Instagram. Because that image, when it hits the internet, when you go back to the source, it's going to go back to my website, which means I own it. But you also have to think, like, once you put something on the internet, you can't control who sees it. You can't control who copies it. You can't control any of that. So I have a friend of mine. There are times when she sees her work and people have copied it and they haven't tagged her. They haven't, they haven't mentioned her. They haven't done anything. And I feel bad for her. But at the same time, you have to think about, this is just one instance where you've seen someone who's copied your work. You've actually seen it. Think about all of the other people who have probably copied your work and you have never seen it, and you probably will never see it. So
Right.
you just have to you have to think about those kinds of things when you post something on the internet. If you don't want people to copy it, don't post it, because you literally cannot control who sees it, where it goes. You can't control any of that once it hits the internet. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
copywriting is important to a certain extent. Like
Mm-hmm.
if there's something like very super, super unique about your work that you want to copyright, by all means, go for it. But just keep in the back of your mind that once you put it on the internet, you can't control where it goes. And there are times when you'll never know where it goes. So, if it so happens to get back to you, like let's say you post a picture of, some nails that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody could go and make a set of press-ons and sell them. And you won't know unless someone who has already seen your work
Right.
sees that work and then sends it to you.
Right.
So then, because you have those copyright, you have all of that in line, then you can go after them.
Mm-hmm.
But the most that you can do, if it's just another independent artist, if it's just one set that they've sold, then you can kind of be like, okay, don't do that again. But if it's, let's say, I know another nail artist who she had it was really original work, and a business, a large nail brand copied that, put it on a press on, and then sold it. And she's going, I need to follow up with her to figure out how that ended. But, she has to deal with legal issues with a large brand,
Right.
which you don't necessarily want to say that she might not be able to get what she wants out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a small fish going against a big fish. So it's just little stuff like that you want to think about. I mean, I don't copywriting. I think copywriting is good for certain things. Mm-hmm. But, with everything, you just have to keep in mind that once you put it on the internet, you can't control where it goes. You'll never know where it goes. So you just have to keep that in mind and just take social media with a grain of salt. All right, I'll put it out here. So if somebody copies it, I can't really do anything about it unless someone who knows me sees it and sends it to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. And I like how you mentioned that, how you post it on your site and then put it on social media, because you still have that ownership. So I like how you really mentioned that, because I think a lot of us as nail artists don't really consider that, you know what I mean? Especially considering how people can steal and, and figuring out ways how to, still maintain ownership of, work, especially nail art work. So that's very good of how you brought that up, because I think that's something to really, really think about and consider. Right. Now, I want to get into publication work. So your work has been in Vogue, Pop Sugar Beauty, Cosmopolitan, many other publications. So what has been your experience doing publication work, and what is that whole process like?
So it depends on the publication. So for Pop Sugar, that was when I was in New York, and their offices were actually in New York. So I went to their office to do that. Which is kind of you go in maybe for an hour, and they kind of, walk through the process, and they watch you, and then they kind of take pictures and ask you questions while you're doing it. And then at the end, of course, they take all the pictures for social and stuff like that. When it's, now with COVID, most of it is at home. So, you're taking your own pictures, you're setting up your own camera, you're setting up, everything on your own, and you're kind of just delivering the final product. There have been instances where I have had a brand, they use some sort of app to screen record my screen. And then they turn that into content. So with technology, there's a lot of different ways to work with brands and work with publications to get your work out there. And I think, just with all the stuff that I've done so far already, it's very easy for people to reach out to me through my website to just say, hey, we're doing a write-up on summer colors and summer trends, and we want to get your input on blah, 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 blah. So I kind of do it that way as well. A lot of it is through email.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it used to be going into the office, but obviously that's not happening now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, I can't see you.
I had to turn my Wi-Fi back on. There
Oh.
we go. All right. I was trying to find a good break to like get in there and do it. Okay.
Now I want to get into like nail campaigns. So you've done like campaigns for Fenty Beauty and Ivy Park. So what does that entail? Like nail campaigns, like how do you go about with a nail campaign? And do you also charge for nail campaigns? Like how does that work?
You absolutely charge. We don't work for free.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
so when I was with my agency, my agent was the one who booked that. So I'm no longer with that agency anymore,
Mhm.
and I've gotten to the point now where I'm doing a major transition in my career.
Mhm.
But with my agency, essentially what would happen is someone who represents Ivy Park will reach out to the agency. The overall agency will figure out which manicurist on their roster is a good fit for that particular job. It could be that, or it could just be whichever manicurist is available. And God bless my lucky stars, I was available that day. So I was the one who got chosen to do the Ivy Park shoot. And with that, the whoever runs Ivy Park, they know exactly like what they want the hair to look like, what they want the makeup to look like, and what they want the nails to look like. And so with certain jobs, like with campaigns, with that particular campaign, they knew exactly what they wanted. And it was mostly just me going in, making sure that all of the models and the dancers that, their nails were clean, or if they had like a crazy like color that didn't go with the color scheme of what everyone was wearing, I'd go in and change it to something more neutral. Now excuse me, with Kosas, the makeup brand that I work with, they are one of the brands that I worked with for the first time. I got to use a lot of color, which I almost never get to use because most campaigns are like, we want everything neutral, clean, basic, like light pink color, or they want red, just like it's very nude, black, or neutral. It's very much that. But when I worked with Kosas, they were like, oh no, we want yellow, we want green, we want purple, we want pink. And I'm like, I never get to use these colors. Yes. So with them, it was much more like a collaborative effort where, they wanted my input, which I absolutely love, because a lot of times nails don't really get an input because, we're at the bottom of the beauty totem pole. Everybody cares more about hair and makeup. And then nails are kind of like an afterthought, unfortunately. So working with a brand like Kosas, where they're very much, no, we want your input. We want to know what colors do you think will work with this or will work with that. That was very refreshing. And it just all depends on the campaign, really. It depends on the brand. If it's something that's very, something like a L'Oreal makeup, they're definitely going to want something neutral. But if it's something that's a little more lighthearted, more fun, then they're definitely probably going to want more color, and they're probably going to take more input from the actual manicurist on set.